What is good is Nick Friedell joining us right now. He is on the line, Audacy Sports NBA Insider. Insider calls are brought to you by Hyundai. You can now buy the new Hyundai at Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for more details. Nick, good to talk to you again. You're a Chicago guy. What are your thoughts on those City Connects?
Don't start it like that, Nick. Don't react like that. Come on, Nick.
Guys, the hats are awesome. The hats are awesome. When I see the jerseys, I'm like, man, was this a giveaway? Hey, Cam, I mean, I trust you, man. I know the details have got to be legit, but I mean, this is a television product. And when I see them, I actually was just watching the game. I looked over. I'm like, did they hand these out and the players just threw them on? So, hey, I mean, whatever it takes to sell more. I'm sure people are buying them up all over the South Side, but yeah, that wouldn't be my first pick.
Nick is going for the hat more so than the jersey. I respect it, Nick. I really respect it. But again, you see him in person, I think you might change your view just a little bit, my man. But speaking of changing views, man, this NBA playoff series that we've seen in the first round have been full of drama, and we can go any number of ways with this thing when you're talking about the NBA playoffs in the first round. But for you, let's start it with Knicks and Pistons, that first round series, and what we saw and how it finished, especially in Game 6 with Jalen Brunson and just sending Asar Thompson to the sidelines and almost got him a courtside seat with the crossover through the legs and then finishing it off with that three. But how impressed were you with how the Knicks were able to respond and finish that series? And now we'll get ready to face off against the Boston Celtics on Monday night.
Cam, that's what good veteran teams do. They find a way to close out series, and they take advantage of having the best player on the floor. And there's no doubt in my mind that as competitive as Jalen Brunson is and as competitive as his dad, Rick, is, that they didn't hear everybody on TV leading up to that, not only that game, but that series going, okay, Cunningham, he's pretty good. I think he's the best player in this series. Jalen Brunson, no doubt, was made aware, and he had a point to prove. And when you give a really, really talented player that extra chip, some really good things for that team can happen. The Knicks came through. I think Detroit's future is pretty bright, certainly a lot brighter than what we've seen in years past. The problem for the Knicks guys is that they win that series and they're feeling good about themselves, but I just don't give them any chance whatsoever in this next one against Boston, because I just don't think they're as talented as the Celtics in any way. I mean, Brunson's a hell of a player, but the Celtics have Tatum, and they have Brown, and Porzingis is finding his rhythm, and they're deep, and they know that they can win. They just won the title last year, so you expect a really solid series. The atmosphere in both those places, it's going to be awesome, but the Knicks just don't have, in my mind, what it takes to match up against a team as deep and as loaded as Boston is.
And let's be real about this, Nick. I mean, the Knicks were made this way because they're preparing to face off against the Boston. I mean, they were made this way because of OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. Like, they brought these guys in for a reason to load up and face off against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, in some senses Drew Holiday, but also same thing with Karl Anthony Towns and trying to win that matchup against Kristaps Porzingis. But I was going to ask you this, because you said the Knicks don't have a chance. Are you concerned at all with this injury situation going on with the Celtics? Like, we saw Tatum with the wrist against the Orlando Magic in the first round. Jaylen Brown came into the playoffs with a knee issue. Drew Holiday has missed a couple of games for the Boston Celtics against the Magic in that series. So is that a little concern for you, where you could see the Knicks maybe make this more of a series than you're thinking it will happen?
That is the only thing that I think could slow Boston down. And Cam, to your point, of course, it would give you pause as far as how the series would play out and if it would go a game or two more than expected. But this, to me, is just very clear. If Boston can maintain some semblance of health over the next couple of weeks, they're going to roll by the Knicks. And that is the issue for New York and Tibbs and Leon Rose and that whole front office. You built this team to go and contend for championships. You built them to exactly what you're saying, to go against Boston. Karl-Anthony Towns is just not a consistent primetime player in the biggest of games. Mikal Bridges had some really big shots the other night in Detroit, but clearly this year he's just not the guy that they've needed him to be. That is what is fascinating to me about what happens moving forward, because, yeah, if Tatum or Brown goes down or Holiday is still not the same when he gets back out and rolling, okay, maybe. But even then, I just think Boston is a cut above. And if I'm right and the Celtics roll by the Knicks, then what happens? Because you've given up all the draft capital and made all the moves to get these pieces in place that you have now.
Well, Nick, I mean, the Knicks this year, 0-10 against the top three teams in the league, which included the Celtics, Cavs, and Thunder. Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the books here, a sweep for the Celtics, 4-0, is plus 325, which is, for the conference semifinals, is a crazy price. But from what you're saying, that's not totally out of the question.
I don't think it is, but Kate, I would always hesitate to choose a sweep against any team that was playing the Knicks, just because maybe it's because I was going there for so long, for so many years, that I don't buy that a team is going to run into Madison Square Garden and in Boston case get both of those games. So I would always think that the Knicks can at least get one. My pick in this series would be Boston in 6, because that New York team is tough. They're not just going to roll over. Brunson has hit way too many big shots, especially late. I just think Boston is that much better. But that's the whole problem for me, trying to roadmap what happens next for New York. Not only the moves that would be forthcoming over the summer, but to your point about a sweep or how long it goes, the other thing that Boston has to factor in is you want to get that thing over as quick as you possibly can, because you've got to figure that Cavs-Pacers series is going to at least go 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And Boston, having played all the games that they played last year to win the finals, needs those extra rest days more than probably anybody else that's left out there now.
We're talking to Nick Friedell, NBA Audacy Insider. Insider calls are brought to you by Hyundai. Now you can buy a new Hyundai from the comfort of your new home. Well, if you bought a new home, at Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for more details. Nick, let's switch gears a little bit. You covered the Warriors for a while. They, lost the last 2 games. Now the series is tied 3-3. We've got a Game 7 in Houston. How concerned are you for this Warriors team just with how they've been playing over these last 2 games?
Kate, they looked old and tired last night.
They did.
Yeah.
And that is not a good sign. But as far as tomorrow goes, and a possible Game 7, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that I was completely wrong in life, but I refuse to bet against Steph Curry. I refuse to do it. The guy has shown up way too many times when that team has needed him. And he hasn't played very well in the last couple of games. I think that thumb, that hand, it's just not right. It's bothering him. But he always seems to know, especially in these last few years, that he can lift up everybody's game around him, and he can lift up his own game when that group, especially after the KD iteration and Clay's not there anymore, he knows what's on his shoulders. So on top of the fact that the Warriors just haven't played very well these last couple of games, I still think Steph and Jimmy have one more in there tomorrow for all the people that are trying to write them off right now. What I would say, though, is anybody who thought, the Warriors, maybe they are the dark horse, and I would admit, I was one of those people that before the playoffs, when you would ask, all right, well, who could come out of the West besides OKC? I would have looked at the Warriors and said, well, maybe them. I'm not betting against Steph and Jimmy. What I've seen in this series is really concerning, though, because they just look tired in that front of that group. Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, they've played so many extra games. With Jimmy, of course, in Miami the last few seasons, I think that the extra wear on those tires is going to be an issue for anyone who thinks that not only can they get by tomorrow after dropping these two, but win a couple more rounds and somehow get into the finals.
Yeah, because if they do survive Game 7 tomorrow, Nick, then they will have the Minnesota Timberwolves awaiting them, and that's going to be a hell of a series there. But, I mean, with that, the extra games that they've played just throughout their careers, but especially playoffs and NBA Finals, they still have that experience. And I was talking to Kate about this Game 7 tomorrow from the Houston side of things. I feel, and I want to know if you agree on this, Nick, that the pressure is on the Rockets because this is a Game 7. They're back on their home court, and let's all remember that they're the 2 seed in this situation, with the Warriors being the underdogs, and I'm putting up air quotes, Nick, with them being the 7 seed. So do you feel that the pressure is really on Houston to finish this thing out because they worked their way to this position, and this is one of the reasons why you try to get the home advantage and get in the higher seed, but they're walking into this thing where they just can't cruise because Steph still exists, to your points, Nick.
Cam, I tend to agree with you, but if I'm Ime Udoka and I'm standing there tomorrow in that locker room, I'm saying, hey, guys, nobody thinks you can do it because that team has Steph and Jimmy, and they have Draymond, and they've been here before. I'm with you, though. Houston has had a hell of a regular season. They have shown that they've got a lot of young talent within that group. What they have not shown, and they're going to have the opportunity to do just that tomorrow, is play in the biggest of games and win. And when you have a young team that doesn't have that collective confidence together, that's why, I would be hesitant to drop anything on Houston tomorrow just because you can ride all the confidence you want. Game 7 is just different. It's like rock 'em, sock 'em, back and forth the whole time, and then inevitably it's pretty close, and you're going to need somebody to step up and knock down the big shot. I'm not sure who that's going to be for Houston if the game is just like that. I know exactly who it's going to be for Golden State with Steph and Jimmy. So there are a lot of different variables, but I agree. Houston's got some more pressure on them than what people would think. Although I would also flip it back to y'all and say, if Golden State drops this 3-1 lead after trading for Jimmy, you go into the summer, if you're Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob and that front office and ownership, and you go, well, we need one more piece. And even if we have that one more piece, where exactly does that get us?
Yeah, they could be in trouble if they don't close that out tomorrow. Nick, 20 seconds. Who wins tonight? Who do you have Game 7 between Clippers and Nuggets?
I am going with Jokic. Kate, if Jokic delivers the way we know he can carry that team across the line in this series. For my money, he's still the best player in the game right now. I'm going with Denver.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Nuggets a favorite.
Yeah.
1.5 point favorites.
There you go. Yeah. Nick, we appreciate you as always. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I'm just glad we're not there, guys. The weather looks awful.
Awful.
Always good to be with you.
Awful. That was Nick Friedell, NBA Audacy Insider. Insider calls are brought to you by Hyundai. Now you can buy a new Hyundai on Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for more details. Does anyone have a better laugh than Nick?
Oh my gosh.
It's so funny.
It's great.
Is.
But it's also like you have to proceed with caution laugh because
yes,
it's
like a little like what's the word I'm looking for? Evil laugh.
Right, for sure. Like Nick's laugh needs to be cast in some type of movie or cartoon series because it would be perfect.